management, we are going to focus on three, okay? Three current assets, namely, of course, cash, receivables, and we have yung inventory, okay? Now, let's talk about management of cash muna. Let's prioritize yung cash. It's because yung cash kasi naman yung pinaka-importante, okay, pagdating sa mga entity. Now remember, why does a company or entity do their operation? Of course, for profit. And yung profit kasi can be measured on the money or the value of money they earn. So syempre, if we are going to talk about working capital management, unahin natin kung ano yung mas pinaka-importante. Okay? Now, if we are talking about cash, as an individual person, mas gusto mo ba yung cash na mahawakan mo na today or on a later date? Siyempre, lahat tayo, kung gusto mo, di ba, pag namasko ka, Ninong, pamasko po. O, gusto mo, ngayon mabigay na. Mabigay na yung pamasko mo. Ayaw mo na, babalik ka pa. Ay, sige, balik ka mga after 1 month. Diba? You would want na hawak mo na yung cash. Okay? Ngayon, pagdating, if you're going to look at dun sa operations ng mga entities, no? Of course, entities would want to receive cash accelerated, in acceleration. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Mas gusto ng entity na makuha na agad yung pera kesa i-expect pa nila yan on a later date. Okay? Now, as a student, you would want din ng cash. Tama ba? Okay. Ba't mo kailangan ng cash? Of course, maybe you would want to be a CPA, an accountant, and para ma-meet mo yung dream na yun, no? Diba, kailangan mo magbayad ng tuition. So, kailangan mo rin ng cash. And syempre, pag babayad mo na yan sa school, ano mas gusto nila? Would they want it installment or would they want it na bayaran mo na buo in cash? Of course, the answer would be to receive cash immediately. However, syempre, hindi naman usual na possible yon. Kasi for some reason, some students, medyo limited yung budget. That's why mag-i-installment sila. Okay? And kapag may installment, anong ibig sabihin nun? The company will incur additional receivables. Now, yung receivables, syempre, hindi mo matatanggap yung cash today. Matatanggap mo yung cash in a certain period. So let's say kung 3 months installment yan, so every month mag-aantay ka for the next possible payment. Now, ang question, di ba? Would you want to receive the cash immediately? Of course. Any entity would do anything so that they could collect the cash immediately. Okay. Now, yun yung pag-uusapan natin. When we talk about cash management, syempre, number 1, ano ang perspective ng entity when it comes to cash inflow? Namin natin cash inflow, papasok ang pera mula sa customer papunta sa entity. So gusto natin mabilis. Gusto natin makuha agad ang cash. Pag pinag-usapan naman natin ang cash outflow, ibig sabihin, palabas yung pera from entity to a certain person or certain other entity. Okay? Ibig sabihin, magbabayad tayo. We would want it na mas mabagal, mas matagal. So for example, mangongolekta tayo. Gusto mo na, ngayon na makolekta yan. Pero pag magbabayad tayo, okay lang ba after 3 months? Kasi we would want to manage the cash effectively. Remember, mas powerful yung cash na hawak mo na today kesa dun sa cash na mahahawakan mo on a later period. Okay? Now, let's say, for example, a company, let's say, may cash sales sila. Wala tayong problem sa cash sales since kapag binayaran yon, they already hold the cash. Pero syempre, entities or companies would entertain sales on account. Bakit nila i-entertain yon? Siyempre, number one, they would want to expand their sales. Gusto nilang palakihin yung sales. Kasi kung panay cash sales lang yan, so siyempre, ang mga taong makakabili lang sa kanila is yung mga taong may readily available na cash. Eh, paano yung iba na wala? Let's say, hindi pa nadating yung pera. So, they would take some risk na magpautang. But of course, pag nagpautang ka, let's say 30 days, 60 days, matagal mabayaran. Pero ano nga uli yung nasa utak ng entity? They would want to collect it in acceleration. So what would they do is to create some methods or some practices na mag-accelerate ng collection. Now remember yung basic accounting nyo? Ano yung basic accounting nyo? Diba? Meron doon N30, 2/10. Diba? Pag N30, ibig sabihin payable in 30 days. 2/10 meaning 2% if paid within 10 days. Okay? That's one of the policy ng entity or one program of the entity so that they can accelerate the collection. Kasi ang expected 30 days magbayad. But if they are going to take the discount, within 10 days, mababayaran na yung amount. So therefore, acceleration of collection. Now, paano natin dinedelay ang payment? Now, for example, sa hardware namin, okay, usual ang mga supplier namin, they would give what? 30 to 60 days payment. Pero kami, masyado na bang mahaba ang 60 days? Well, mahaba yon. Pero we would like na longer term kasi same lang naman yung pabayaran. Regardless kung bayaran mo na maaga or bayaran mo na late. So what we do is that agent, okay lang ba na gawin mo na 90 days instead of 60 days? Kung pumayag, then go. Kung hindi pumayag, then okay lang din. Pero kung pumayag siya that we would have additional 30 days, no? 30 days. Instead of 60 days, 90 days namin bago bayaran yung pagkakautang namin. Is it favorable for us? Eh sir, parang bayaran mo, babayaran mo rin naman after a week or after a month eh. Ba't di mo na lang bayaran? Now remember, okay? Pag binayaran mo siya, may lalabas na pera sa'yo. So ibig sabihin, yung lalabas na pera from you, hindi mo na siya magagamit. Now remember, if you are going to pay in 60 days, okay, palabas na yung pera. Hindi mo na magagamit yon kasi ginamit mo na siya pang bayad. Pero if the other entity, pumayag sila na 90 days, now instead of paying in 60 days, you now have 30 days. 30 days na pwede mong gamitin yung pera na supposedly pangbayad. You can invest it in 30 days. Let's say may short-term investment and you would be so doon pala makikita natin na there's an essence, okay? Napaka-essential ng managing cash, okay? But of course, hindi lang naman yun yung tinitingnan natin when it comes to management of cash, okay? Okay, recap natin. Number one, we would want acceleration of collection so that we can have the cash already. When we are talking about cash, pero if we are talking about cash outflow, mas matagal, mas okay. Okay, mas matagal, mas okay yan sa company. Instead of the money being used for payment, they can use it on other items or other operations. Okay? Now, hindi lang yun yung tinitingnan natin sa management of cash. Okay? Kasi pagdating, syempre, hindi naman araw-araw Pasko. Tama ba na laging nag-uumapaw ang pera? Sometimes, in the middle of the operation, we would need additional funding. Okay? If we are going to need additional funding, take note of this. Number one, okay, make sure you ask yourself, is this for short-term purposes? Or number two, is it for long-term purposes? Pag sinabi nating short-term purposes, ito yung mga possible, okay, ang forecast natin for this month is 100 units. Pero biglang tumaas. Question, is it for short term or is it for long term? Okay. Now, usual, dapat kapag short term funding yung kailangan or short term lang yung short term lang yung paggagamitan, dapat short term din yung funding. Meaning, ibig sabihin, mas mura ang interest. So for example, nangutang ka na, let's say, 50,000. Additional lang para dun sa increase in demand. Payable in 2 months. So ibig sabihin, the interest would also be for 2 months only, not on an annual perspective. However, syempre, if we are going to, let's say, dadagdagan or magdadagdag tayo ng facility. Okay? If we are going to add a facility pagdating dun sa workplace, syempre, magkano yung gagastusin? Malaki-laki. Let's say, 300,000 to 500,000. So, long-term yon. Long-term yon since yung facility would be used more than 1 year. So, supposedly, dapat ima-match mo rin yun ng long-term funding. Yun nga lang, syempre, pag long-term funding yung pinag-uusapan natin, mas costly yon. Costly siya, it's because, let's say, 3 years to pay, 3 years din yung interest magra-run. Tama ba? Okay. Now, again, recap ha. So kapag short-term funding yan, additional cash lang naman yung kailangan so that we could sustain the operation, okay, let's use short-term funding. It's because cheaper siya and hindi mo naman ganun kakailangan na sobrang laking amount. However, if we are talking about extension of facilities or long-term expenditure yan, we have to match it with long-term funding, which is more expensive since you are going to pay the full extent of the amount within the longer period of time. Now, ang question natin, no? Sir, pwede bang kung short-term cost lang yan or short-term lang yung paggagamitan, pwede ba nating gamitin yung long-term funding? Or vice versa? Or let's say long-term funding yan or long-term project yan, pero gagamitan lang natin na short-term funding. Pwede ba yun? Of course, we can do that, no? However, medyo magmi-mismatch siya. Okay? Pero, pwedeng gawin yon. Nga lang, may mga consequences. And syempre, meron din siyang benefits. Okay? Now, for example, short-term project, finad natin na long-term. Okay. Anong ibig sabihin nun? The company would be paying more. Kasi long-term funding, ibig sabihin, magbabayad siya ng extended time. Magbabayad siya ng interest longer time. So therefore, it would be more costly. That's the consequence. Ano yung benefit niya? The benefit would be that they would be liquid. So therefore, meron silang security na hindi sila mauubusan ng cash for a certain period. Okay? Now, paano kung yung kabaliktaran? Long-term funding siya, pero, long-term project siya, pero finand mo siya ng short-term funding. Now, sinabi natin kanina, no? Short-term funding, mas mura. Since mas mura yung interest niya. Okay? However, ano yung consequence niya? Ang consequence niya is that hindi ka masyadong liquid. So, pag hindi ka masyadong liquid, possible bang may ma-miss out ka na payment ng any disbursement? So, possible mangyari yan. Okay? So, therefore, pwede siyang gamitin. Yun nga lang, you would be taking risk. The more appropriate partner would be short-term project, short-term funding. Okay? Long-term project, long-term funding. Okay. Siyempre, kapag short-term funding, ano ang ini-emphasize ng entity doon? If we are going to use short-term funding, mas mura. Therefore, ang utak ng entity is in the profitability. Okay? Pero kapag long-term funding ang tinitingnan natin, long-term funding, mas liquid, mas maraming pera, mas flexible ang terms of payment. Since longer term of payment yan, anong iniisip ng entity? It is security in